Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Danville City Commission for this evening's special call to meeting. Tonight being Monday, September the 14th, the hour is 5:30, and I will call us to order. I ask that we be led in prayer by Commissioner Denise Terry.
Good evening. Tonight, I would like to read to you the prayer that the late Commissioner Nancy Caudill prayed on September 22nd, 2001 at the City Commission meeting after 9/11. Please pray with me. There are those who tear down and those who build up. There are those who hurt and those who help. There are those who spread hate and those who seek to soothe. There are those who worship self and those who care for others. The heroes we salute tonight are builders and helpers and soothers, and above all, caring humans who gave their lives in the performance of their duty to their fellow citizens. Let us pay tribute to these brave men and women in ways that are meaningful and lasting. Let us each resolve to do at least one kindness each day, so that when we are through waving the flags, we won't be through reaching out to each other in love and understanding and brotherhood. God bless those fallen heroes, and God bless America. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Commission, you have the agenda since last Friday. I've heard no additional comments, so I'll assume it meets with your approval, and we'll move right on into item 1. And is with I guess it's with some mixed emotion, certainly. I'm very glad to have the Tammy family here. I wish it were under different circumstances.
Yes.
But if you will allow me, and I would ask that you join me up front, please. Yeah, yeah. Two over here and two over here. And hi, Steve. Whereas Edward Stewart, Eddie Tammy, was born and raised in Danville, Kentucky, and a graduate of Boyle County High School and the University of Kentucky. And whereas Eddie was a member of St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church, Farmhouse Fraternity, Danville Kiwanis Club, and a proud supporter of the Boyle County School and Athletics. And whereas Eddie proudly served the citizens of Danville and Boyle County as the Property Valuation Administrator from December 1989 to December 2018, and won numerous awards in that role, and served as a court-appointed special advocate. And whereas Eddie had a loving and generous heart that helped many friends and strangers, and whereas Eddie had many charities that he held close to his heart, such as CASA of the Bluegrass, St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church, Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Harlan, and Kiwanis Club of Danville. And whereas Eddie embodied what it means to live generously, giving abundantly of his time, his talent, and treasure for the benefit of the common good. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Mayor G. Michael Paris, and the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville, Kentucky, hereby remember Edward Stewart, Eddie Tammy, for his dedication and service to the citizens of Danville and Boyle County. Who would like to receive this? Thank you. You're so welcome. Thank you. And we're going to have some pictures here. Let me see if I have enough sense to turn this on. And I do. Would anyone like to say anything?
Go ahead, Steve. I'm good.
Yeah. You got words?
Well,
No, I'm good.
No.
Mr.
Well,
Mayor,
let me
On
say-
behalf of the Tammys, sir, I don't want that, but I do appreciate this very much, and we accept it with a lot of gratitude. And it means a lot to us. And it has been a tough situation, and I think Eddie was well thought of in the community.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
by everybody, there was a few. And, but he was generous to everybody.
I never knew anybody that didn't like Eddie, and if there happened to be one or two, that's their problem.
Sure.
That's their problem.
And,
he would say his brothers, but other
well,
than that.
well, you need to check with some family members.
That's right, yeah. Mr.
One
Mayor?
Not here, right?
And I never saw Eddie without a smile on his face.
You need to come to family reunion.
Oh, let me know. Give me somebody give me an Eddie Tammy story.
Uh-oh.
From when?
Whenever you choose. Doesn't have to be just one. Pick 2 or 3. Let's celebrate the life. Somebody give me a story.
I'll tell you one that was, our cousin Bobby, we were putting in hay one time and Eddie didn't feel real well and Bobby kept hitting him in the knees with the bells. And Eddie kept telling him to quit and quit and he, you know, he didn't quit however it went. And finally there it went and Eddie, they just took off running down the field, all the way down this field and Bobby was zigzagging. Eddie never did catch him, thank goodness. So they got tired and they quit.
How about it?
Go ahead, Steve.
Lane,
I don't
you
have.
go. Yes, you do.
I'm good.
There's 2 or 3 probably, but the ones used at our, Jacob did a good job with the eulogy, but, and I thought of it that we were on a trip one time, and, of course, back in our younger years, the post office people, you know, they all knew everybody, and several of them there played cards with our dad and things, and we knew they read the mail. And so we sent a postcard home, and Eddie addressed it to our mom and dad, and on the back he wrote, "Dear Cody," which was Cody Tucker, if anybody ever knew that rascal. "Just tell mom and dad we're fine." And of course, they all read it at the post office, and they all had a big hoot with that. But I thought today too, it was said some of our great aunts and aunts, when Eddie was going to start school, they said, was Eddie ready to start school? And the great aunts in them, they said, was school ready for Eddie? And that kind of carries over to the courthouse, to everywhere. Where is the courthouse ready for Eddie? And I thought that was pretty good. Bart's got one, I know.
No, I'm good. I'm just listening. Y'all tell another one. I'm all right. I can't tell a story.
We got time.
No, do it after your meeting.
But we don't want to take up any more time, but we appreciate it
No, this
very
is-
much.
Well, the Tammy family is certainly a name in this county that goes without anything whatsoever. And while the Tammy family is really closely connected in many ways with county and county government, Danville's still part of Boyle County. And whether he was working for county government or city government, we're on the same business. We're here to serve our folks. And we had tremendous admiration, all of us, for Eddie and his approach to community service, civil service. And to say he will be missed is certainly the understatement of the day. But I will always remember that smile. So thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. all.
Pleasure. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Good to see you, CEO.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the proclamation remembering Edward Stewart Eddie Tammy for his dedication and service to the citizens of Danville and Boyle County.
We'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comment?
Mayor, if I may, I want to say one quick thing about Eddie. You know, I had a privilege of being able to work with him closely within the last 5-8 years, and I enjoyed it immensely, mostly because of his colorful, colloquial mannerisms, his problem-solving approach, of just in general being an overall good human being. And as I've reflected on him within the past week, I think it's pretty remarkable that from a biblical perspective, tax assessors, tax collectors have terrible reputations. But Eddie was beloved
That's right.
as a tax assessor in this community, and I think that's remarkable, and it says a lot about him and his character, and he won't be forgotten. His approach to public service is remarkable, and so I'm thankful to have known him, to worked with him, and to call him friend too, and I know you all feel the same way.
Well said, sir. Any further comments or?
So great loss to the community. Certainly our deepest sympathies to the family.
Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Timmy? You want a copy of that? That's a good copy of that. Nice seeing you.
If anybody else wants copies, you're welcome to them.
Would you like all these
Theo,
copies?
does everybody want copies?
I think mine has a note.
Is it, y'all want our copies? Okay.
Here, pass them down.
They're free tonight, you better take them.
After tonight, they're $5 each.
It says open records request, right?
Oh, gosh.
Rick's is down
Here you
here.
go, Theo.
Thank you all for coming and being with us. And
Thank you
it's-
all.
It's our pleasure and privilege. Item 2, excuse me, not item 2. Yes, item 2 is proclamation of a city government month. Does anybody want to read this besides me?
I'll read it.
Please do.
This is the proclamation of City Government Month. Whereas civics education in Kentucky schools is important to ensure future generations are engaged and involved in their local community and its governance. And whereas elementary schools are a prime location for the introduction of local government principles and responsibilities. Whereas involving and informing students of local government programs and duties can provide an opportunity for entire families to connect with vital city services and programs. Whereas there are 416 cities in Kentucky and 55% of the state's population lives in a city. And whereas City Government Month is a civics awareness campaign that educates elementary school students about city services by providing teachers lesson plans, a coloring and activity book, and an implementation guide. And whereas City Government Month calls on city officials to get involved in their local schools and in educating and engaging elementary school students in city government. And whereas the KLC Board of Directors has declared September 2020 as City Government Month in Kentucky. Now therefore be it resolved that Mayor G. Michael Paris and the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville hereby proclaim September 2020 as City Government Month in the City of Danville, and that city officials and employees are encouraged to collaborate with local elementary schools to educate students about their city government and to engage them in city services.
Do you hear a motion for that proclamation?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Atkins, thank you. Discussion? Is there someone that's supposed to receive this, Earl?
Well, it's very obvious that we're not teaching about city government in our schools this September.
All right.
Always great for the recognition, though.
If there's no further discussion, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 3 is the proclamation for Constitution Week. I will tell you that I read this proclamation to the members of the DAR, the St. Asaph chapter, earlier this afternoon because they couldn't be here tonight. So allow me to read it again into the record. Whereas September 17, 2020 marks the 223rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas the Daughters of the American Revolution started the celebration of the Constitution by petitioning the Congress in 1955 to set aside September 17th through the 23rd annually to be dedicated in observance of Constitution Week. And whereas the Danville chapter, known as St. Asaph, of the Daughters of the American Revolution, now celebrating their 120th year, was organized in 1900 by Mary Johnson Hogsett. And whereas the purpose of Constitution Week is to emphasize citizens' responsibilities for protecting and defending the Constitution, inform people that the Constitution is the basis of America's great heritage and the foundation for our way of life, and to encourage the study of the historical events which led to the framing of the Constitution in September of 1787. Now, therefore, Mayor Gene Michael Paris and the Board of Commissioners of the City of Danville on this 14th day of September do hereby proclaim September 17th through the 23rd, 2020 as Constitution Week, and urge all citizens to study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. Do I hear a motion for that proclamation?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second one?
Second.
Mr. Sears, thank you. Discussion? The DAR chapter is handing out little booklets that is the Constitution and explanation of the Constitution. It's dumbed down so even I can read it and understand it. If you want one of those booklets, I'm sure that a call to a member of the DAR will get you a dozen or so, as they have many to pass out. I appreciate what they're doing. And if you have an opportunity, pull up on the DAR website, the St. Asaph chapter. The beginning of that chapter is pretty historical. It's pretty doggone neat. So I encourage you to take a look at that. That's the end of my spiel. Anything else? Call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposite, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4 is the approval of the minutes of the previous weeks, being August 24th, August 28th, and September the 4th. Chair will entertain a motion at your earliest opportunity.
I'll allow for a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meetings, August 24th, August 28th, and September the 4th, 2020.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Any discussion? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, Codes Enforcement. Ms. Lester.
Excuse me. Good evening. You have before you the report for the month of August for the code enforcement activities. A couple highlights is that we issued 36 business licenses. We placed 24 liens and we recovered 3. We issued 36 notice of violations. Ian and I attended a 3-hour training with the Kentucky League of Cities on sidewalk training. And we added an Architectural Heritage Board report in this month so that you could see what activities are going on. Some of the things Joni's doing and the board is doing is we're working with grants and things like that, so we'll continue that. All of our alcohol licenses have been renewed now. Even with the extensions, all our current licensees have renewed their licenses. We had 104 inspections, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Bridget?
I have a question about the condemned properties report,
Uh-huh,
number 8.
yes.
I have seen records indicates that that's sold and is now habitable.
If
On-
it was habitable, then Ewan would have to take it off the report. I can double check with him, but if he had taken the condemnation off, then it shouldn't be on the report, but I'll ask.
Okay. The records I saw were 8/12. It sold.
8/12.
August 12th.
For Northern Avenue?
To sell a property that's condemned, they have to give us a statement that the new owner knows that there's condemnation on it. So I'll follow up with that and let you know.
Okay. Well, I've seen pictures. It doesn't look condemned anymore.
Yeah, a couple of
If those are
comments.
accurate.
I think on the, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
done. Not sorry.
On the business licenses, I'm kind of impressed. I know these are contractors or food trucks, but here in the COVID era, it seems as though the numbers are just as high as they might have been a year ago. So activity in Danville is still happening.
Yes, we are processing on quite a few daily, so there's
Yeah.
still a lot of activity going on.
Yeah. The other comment, we started this almost 6 years ago in terms of you reporting on condemned properties and so forth, and it always kind of pleases me to see that up in the top tier that there's total renovation going on, exterior of the property being maintained. Those are just a couple of the comments. So I feel like it's been effective in what's happening in terms of us looking over their shoulder. And there's also always the sad things that we can't help, owners in the nursing home, and hopefully we can track down some relatives here. But at least I think that our city's looking into those properties, and I'm saying this for the benefit of the neighbors of some of those folks that live near those properties. We're trying to do the best we can for them.
Yep.
I know we're in discussion, but one of the questions that's been posed to me is about food trucks. To those restaurant owners that have capital invested in bricks and mortar, how do you level the playing field, if possible, to a food truck that can drive in and drive out?
Do you want to get it or you want me to? We have been working on that question to look at different ordinances with other communities and different regulations, because right now we don't have a process set up that regulates food trucks. As long as they get a business license and they get a temporary permit from planning and zoning, that's the only requirements that they're having to meet. So we have been working on something to bring back to the City Commission at some point, whether that's starting with a workshop to start the discussion with you on how you want to handle those. So there's about 6 or 7 of us been working on it for several weeks, just trying to talk about the questions and things that come up, but particularly from a regulatory standpoint, there's not too many things that I can regulate them on. It's just not in the ordinance. So that's something that we need to discuss with you, and we can do that sooner or later, however you want us to do that.
Yeah, so the ordinance, as it sits, there's nothing necessarily particular that guides you on private property on how you do temporary vendors, whether it's a fireworks stand or a food truck. And so then we had discussed, is there a permit process for something in right-of-way? So really what we've done so far, to be detailed about it, is we've assessed what the existing ordinance is, what the existing structure is, and then we've tried to identify things that need repairing. So we've kind of got those two things overlaid, and so we've got another step probably internally, and then we can either engage you guys directly in a format like this or different workshop. It is a big subject. There's a lot of moving pieces to it. Some folks have higher fees, some folks don't. There's a lot of nuances to it. It's probably not really clean to talk about it without having some documents in front of you.
But we have found that most communities have a food truck ordinance of some type.
Right.
They address it in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
If
Whether
there's
they
not
allow-
that much in terms of ordinance on it, does it merit a full workshop, or can we get by with just a regular meeting?
It depends on
It depends on you.
you get your approach. I mean, we could sit down for an hour or an hour and a half easily on it if you really dove into it. It depends on how far you want staff to take a draft and what public input you want us to seek out before we provide you with a draft, or do you want us to develop a structure and then talk about some of the questions with you directly on what you could consider to add or what you could consider to leave out? right? So
I
those are
think-
two different approaches.
I think my opinion, that last approach would be the most efficient.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. I definitely agree with
And
that.
I guess the question that oftentimes I get answered is about the health department's involvement with the food trucks.
Well, the health department has their own permit process. They're participating in our group with us. But for example, the fire department, they don't have, they're not engaged at all. And you're talking about, there's generators close to right-of-way at times. Do those food trucks have fire extinguishers on those? You know, there's some of those questions to be healthy to require an additional layer of inspection. And so those are the types of things we're talking about and what that would look like.
And right now, there's really nothing that prohibits them completely from being downtown and other places. We have not encouraged that because there's not a lot of space for that, but we need some guidance as far as regulation goes from the commission as to how you want us to handle that from a codes enforcement perspective.
If I might suggest that we focus on that before the end of the year, because the rhythm of the commission is you've got kind of January to do some planning for the calendar year, but come February, the budget process starts, and that pretty much consumes everybody for the next 3 to 4 months.
We probably could set a date by the first meeting in October. We could probably come back and say, maybe this date for a workshop, set aside at least an hour and a half, and try to have an effective meeting.
Okay?
I
Works
think
for
that's
me.
a great point you brought up, Mayor.
Yes,
Have
sir.
you, in any of your just preliminary stuff, Bridget, has there been anything in anybody's ordinance about where a truck can be in proximity to a brick and mortar restaurant?
Yes, some of them
Okay.
do address it,
Yeah.
and they restrict times and different things like that. They require insurance to cover on the public parts of that, and they can't connect to electrical outlets. They have to make sure that they pick up all their trash, and it gets very detailed into some of them, but we've gotten 6 or 7 copies of different places that we thought would be helpful, but just about every community I asked for, we could have gotten a copy of an ordinance, so it's something everyone's dealing with and addressing.
Yeah, one thing that we're just deficient on is there's many layers to inspection that's considered, not considered, and so what we see is our fee structure to that inspection probably needs to be more robust. And so when you go into it, when you need to be thinking about, as we go through, what your guys' perspective is on permit fees and things like that. I know you don't have a lot of information on it, but most everyone has a robust fee structure tied to temporary uses, and not a planning and zoning permit, but in-house code enforcement issue where they come in and get a business license, and what else do they cover on those front-end expenses being transient, whereas a bricks and mortar business pays property taxes, and most of those costs are embedded in those property taxes. So it's something to consider and something for you folks to think about.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Item 6 is resolution number 2020-09-14-01. This is the 911 Center chair lease agreement. Ms. Hayfield? She's not. There you are. These masks. Can't tell who's what anymore. You want 12 chairs? Is that right? 6.
Chairs.
I see 6 for a 3-year option or 5-year option. Okay. So that,
Yes.
okay.
We initially started, and I've talked to Michelle as far as budgetary and stuff like that. That's one of our biggest struggles is our chairs, because they are used probably 90% of the time. The hydraulics go out in them. You have to, like right now, I have no chairs that function because now you cannot get the parts for the chairs we ordered 2 years ago. So I do know another agency that uses this. They also went along with a 3-year lease, which I had talked to Michelle, we would pay it in full to get that 2% discount. We did try demo both of the chairs. It was pretty much split half and half as far as likes and dislikes and stuff of the dispatchers. We had them for 2 weeks. We tried them out, so they were amazing. This lease equals out to be about $376 a chair per year, and we get new chairs every year, and they are maintained. To buy one outright, they're about $1,500 to $1,700 each.
So that's currently what you're spending on chairs and replace them every year?
About every 2 years, yeah, we're having to
Okay.
replace them.
So then you're $750 a chair per year, right? Yeah.
Plus your
I think
maintenance.
the chairs we just bought were $600 a piece.
Okay.
And the
300.
ones before that, I think, run about $900 a piece.
Okay.
Is that any maintenance on those that you bought before?
No.
No.
So
But
we
like
want,
right now, like I would keep the chairs I've got, except for they're peeling and Danville office equipment can't get the hydraulics in. They're on back order. Or what I would have would be fixed.
Well, I was going to ask if our local company could match this at all.
I spoke to DOE in June or July, and he said he would get back to me because the chair he recommended, I found locally for like $300. And they're not advertised as 24/7 chairs. That's the biggest thing is because they're set in literally 24/7.
Yeah, it's a 24/7
We
chair.
used to, when I first started, buy office chairs every 6 months to a year, and it was just, these have better wheels on them, and
Yeah.
the base and everything's better because they're made for dispatch 24/7 seating.
anybody want to make a motion on this?
I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-09-1401 as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins and Commissioner Terry. Discussion further? I just want my 911 people comfortable.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Right now, we're not comfortable.
How
I
soon can-
spoke to them, and I think we can get them as early as October, because we can get them at a little bit more of a discounted rate because they have several in Kentucky to come down and get us both at a little bit lower cost.
Okay.
Good job.
Any further discussion?
Well, I appreciate you breaking it down by the year because that make a lot of sense to me as well. And so I had that note. Budget, Rebecca or Michelle? It's okay in the budget? Yeah. Okay.
No further discussion. I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Hope that sits well with you, man.
Yes, literally. Thank you.
You better behave yourself.
Bada bing.
You were dying to use that, weren't you?
Been waiting all day on that one.
We try to keep it.
Item 7 is the zone change recommendation for Winning Colors. Mr. Hunter, welcome.
You bring some popcorn?
No popcorn. Looks like I wanted to move.
I'll just start with the planning commission met on August 26th. There's the slide. These are the exhibits from our meeting. And this is a zone change request from R1A. I'll jump to that real quick and I'll come back. So this is the property right here. Its address is 0 Winning Colors because it's a vacant track at the end of Winning Colors. This is Bold Venture, and this technically would be Candlewood Section 8 if it's developed. So the zoning's R1A, and the R1A zoning, it has a minimum lot size of 10,000 square foot or approximately quarter acre. The disadvantage of the R1A is you have deeper side setbacks, and your lot widths have to be wider. The developer is proposing to go from R1A to R1C, not necessarily get that much smaller lots. There you go. But to take advantage of those more flexible side setback opportunities as well as little smaller lot width. So I'll go back and show you, again, show you where we're at here. This is the end of Winning Colors. If you're looking across the field, if you drove out there, this is a stub street that's
been on the ground for quite a while. There has been a preliminary plat to put a street through here for a number of years. Again, this would be Candlewood Section 8. And then if you go, this is looking back the street in the reverse area. These are similar to the houses that are out there. And again, the developers indicated the houses are going to be similar in nature. They're just going to be on a different kind of lot width as far as depth to width as opposed to traditional R1A lots. This is where the street would come through towards Bold Venture. And as you can see, there's 2 sidewalk stubs right there. That's again, a strip of land a developer owns, but the intention was to put a platted right-of-way through there. This is the property as it's configured. And again, you can see that that strip of land is sitting there, and we have a preliminary plat, or had one, to show a road through here on this 5-acre tract. That's the conceptual lot layout, again, to show the lots. And interesting enough, several of these lots are bigger than the R1A standard. The lots range on that northern side from 8,800 square foot to about almost 12,000 square foot, and on the southern side, about 7,100 square foot to 11,861. So a lot of these lots would be the R1B size, the R1A size. Clearly, the lots in here are a little narrower. They're right around that 7,000, 8,000 square foot, but they're nowhere near the minimum that you could do in R1C. The R1C is a dedicated single-family zone. Again, the advantage for the developer is these lots vary from about 50 foot to about 80 foot on those, and he's getting to go to a narrower lot as opposed to the R1A, which would have all been 80-foot lots. And the side setbacks are a little more flexible. This is part of the concept plan. There's a whole list of conditions, but this just is basically an exhibit that showed a road alignment to the Planning Commission because they could see the street alignment. Again, that's the zone change. That's a zoomed out area, again, of the Candlewood area up here, showing we got a lot of different zoning districts. And that's all the exhibits I guess I really need to show you guys. I think the most important one here was probably that road alignment, which has been in our file for quite a few years. So the process now is the developer is seeking a zone change to go to R1C. If that's successful, a revised plat would be filed with the new lots. Construction plans would have to come in, a bond would have to be posted, fees paid, street constructed, and ultimately accepted by the city once it meets the city's street standards.
The right-of-way width is not changing relative
It's
to any of
50
the other
foot.
streets in the neighborhood.
It's exactly the same. Those, again, there'll be sidewalks on that street. The only discussion item that came up at the Planning Commission of any real magnitude was these property owners called, obviously weren't sure a street was coming through, but they had no objection. Their concern was that the houses would be of the similar fashion, and they will be. There was some discussion about really, and this goes to Earl on his engineering hat here, is it doesn't really come in at a straight 90, but that's the way it's laid out. And then there was some neighbors that brought up the possibility of this becoming a 3-way stop, because we already, I guess, have some traffic moving through at what a neighbor said was, unsatisfactory speeds. And could there be a traffic calming measure added to make this a mandatory 3-way stop? I said that'd be the city's decision when you guys look at the road plans. It's a through street would be the plan now with the stop sign, but it'd be whatever you guys want to do. We debated that for just a few minutes and said that's going to be the city's decision when the engineering comes to you.
Yeah, we'll look at it at that time, for sure.
Again, the Planning Commission had a public hearing and voted 7-0 to forward the City Commission a recommendation of approval. I'm glad to answer any questions you guys might have. And
Any
it's-
questions for Mr. Hunter?
Yeah, forgive me if it's in here and I just missed it, but is there any, it looks kind of low right there. Was there any discussion with engineering about water?
There's no
And-
discussion on the front end of the zone change. There's been discussion and a plat was filed, and I believe there's
Hold that picture right there, Stephen. To the right side of that picture, you see some of the growth. That's a series of retention basins originally designed
Let me go this way, Earl, you can see
to,
it. It's there.
on the right-hand side. Yeah, so there, you can see there's
There's a
three
basin there.
retention basins, or two or three down through there that were originally designed, and they should be preserved in the back with an easement.
Yeah.
At-
So what Kendall Wise put together, I've got a little more detailed plan now, but what he's showing is, as Earl just mentioned, the drainage would be down this area, and then there'd be a channel developed to make sure the drainage from this way is kind of heading to that main basin. Everything's flowing this way already, so, yeah.
It's pretty high on the other side too, Earl. What's, maybe you or Rick can explain how that water runs off to that street?
Yeah, so I'll show
Go
you.
back to that picture.
Mr. Dexter, I don't believe we need to take action on this, do we?
What the standard practice is, that if you have an instruction to give me as far as the preparation of an ordinance of approval, or an ordinance not approving the recommendation of the Planning Commission. So while action is not required, it's helpful to me, either you give direction to prepare the ordinance, or you could pass a resolution with an instruction for me to prepare an ordinance one way or the other.
Do I hear a motion one way or the other?
I'll move for approval of the zone change recommendation. Is that good enough?
That works.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Cirrus. Further discussion?
Yeah, I will make the comment that it was 7-0 on your Planning and Zoning Commission, and I also looked in here that it's consistent with the future land use map, so I think that's a positive as well. So.
And there'll be two ways in and out. Is that correct?
Yeah, it'll be a through street.
This one right here, and another one on the other side?
Yep.
And approximately, 20-plus lots, ways divided?
23 lots, and again, the homes will be of similar size, composition, one story, garage, probably vinyl sided, consistent with what's in the neighborhood, just on a different style of lot size.
Well, I would just request we keep an eye on that new street and the traffic flow with whether we need a stop sign there or not. We could just continue to consider that, because that's already a cut through for a lot of people, and that's going to add more traffic, so.
Yeah, we'll consider that, and we'll note and it sounds like they're varying the drainage plan a little bit, which isn't a big deal. We would just have to look at it, so we'll manage that as well.
You'll have a full set of construction
Correct.
plans in the next 6 to 8 months if
Okay.
this zone change passes.
Okay.
Call for the question?
Question has been called. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion changes. Motion carried. Thank you, sir.
I'll prepare the ordinance and have it ready for the next meeting's agenda then.
Item 8 is the discussion on the EDP and any action if necessary.
Do you want me to start?
Why not?
So I have a statement I'd like to make, and then we'll discuss it, because I'm looking for some direction from you guys. A partnership is characterized by several principles, including but not limited to communication, professional courtesy, trust, and respect. I do not feel all members of the Economic Development Partnership nor the EDP director have honored these basic principles. On several occasions, one partner has not communicated to the full partnership to ask for creative ideas and problem solving, or to utilize networks and connections from the full board of partners. Therefore, I no longer feel we would be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars if the city continues to participate in this EDP partnership. It is my official recommendation as your city representative on the EDP board that we begin to redirect the citizens' funds away from this current organization and begin to form an economic development authority. I would like your thoughts and some direction as far as what you would like for the mayor and myself to do as your representatives. That is my recommendation. You do not have to take it, but I'm putting it out there, and we'll discuss it. Don't all jump in at once.
You're a commission representative, but certainly the mayor is obligated to be on that board as well. Do you have any comments, Mike?
I do. And I just wanted to, before I shared those, give you all an opportunity, but we're glad to. I think we've come to the point in, in the development of our community that we need to form a true economic development authority, which would be a division of city and county government. Now, obviously, we would need to reach out to our brethren at the county, but the way we have done economic development in this community has been unique in that really nobody else in the state of Kentucky or anywhere else that we can find does it the way we do it or have done it. And it is clear, and Mr. Atkins, I don't want to steal your thunder on this because I know you spent some time on the road investigating other communities, but I think it's become clear that other communities are, and have been for some time, have their own economic development authority, and they have purchased land for development. And over the last several years, the value of that land has been zero as it has been used as incentive to attract business and industry. The plain implication of that is we're going to need to find some way to redirect part of our budget to the acquisition of land so that if we're going to continue to be competitive in this business, we've got to be prepared to give it away.
And I know it's a little alarming to the general public to say we're going to give land away, but when someone comes in and makes a multi-million-dollar investment, then that far outweighs the cost and the benefit of us having that land and giving it away, because we make it up really quickly, not only in the investment of the business, but also jobs and those types of things.
So the incident that kind of brings us to the point here is Pittman Creek, which has been in our community for 5 years and has grown very nicely over that period of time, is going to be moving to Lincoln County because Lincoln County has given them 18 acres. Now, in addition to that incentive, Lincoln County's payroll tax is lower than ours. And Lincoln County, because it's in the Appalachian Regional Commission area, the ARC, they can provide some additional incentives that we can't. So clearly, from a number of different vantage points, as we are presently structured, we're not just at a disadvantage, I think we're not in the game. And so I think it's come time that we take a rational and objective viewpoint and ask ourselves, how can we do this better? And I think the implication is we're going to need to do that differently. Those are my thoughts.
I feel like I'm the moderator up here, but So I heard you're on the road. Do you want to tell us what you learned on the road, JH, and some
Well,
of these?
on the road, I visited with an economic development subcommittee, and we visited several communities, and everybody does it differently. There are partnerships, and then there are authorities, just like our colleagues have mentioned. I'm not sure which one would work best for Danville. I think Danville's had a history where a private partnership has been very successful. It's 2020, and whether we move beyond that, I really don't know. Somebody tossed out the possibility for a workshop on another topic. This is major.
I totally agree with that. That is a workshop-worthy subject.
Yeah, so I would not be in favor of making a motion to move or not to move away. I just think it's important that the community know that we're discussing it. It's important that EDP knows that we're discussing it, and sort of ASAP, we set up some type of workshop, some kind of dialogue.
And-
I know there's an EDP meeting Wednesday that you all are going to discuss some of this stuff. I do want to say this. Our decision to stay or not to stay in this partnership definitely should not be based on one incident. I know you all are not based it on one, but when you call out something like you just did, it gives the impression that we're making it based on one encounter, one missed opportunity or two missed opportunities. I think we got to be sure we go back and look at the history and look at the question about this thing in totality and not.
Well, I think what puts me at this point is it's evident that we now have to be prepared to acquire land with taxpayer dollars and give it away. I don't know how we can do that through a private entity. I think we've got to figure out some legal mechanism where we can represent accurately and fairly the taxpayer.
And there's not just one incident.
Oh, I know that.
There have been several
Yeah.
over the 5 years that I've been on the board. And, you know,
And I'm in agreement with that. I have the knowledge of that, but I don't want to toss out one example tonight.
Right.
That's what I'm concerned about.
well, I
So-
want to say several that we know of.
Right, that's right. But again, my plea is that I appreciate you all bringing it to us. We've had several discussions about this in small numbers. If it's that important to the two of you all who represent us, along with our interim acting city manager, then I think there needs to be lots of dialogue and discussion about it, and show me the benefits of what we're getting in this setup, and show me what the benefits would be for my community if we went to the other setup, and what some options are. Would be my pleasure to move forward from tonight.
I think that's logical and fair.
Sounds to me like your frustrations have kind of come to a head, or we're going to be having this topic. So there's a lot of stuff that preceded it, and I'm not totally separated. You know, all of us city commissioners get a little bit of look at what's going on with EDP, and I kind of feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions, and that can makes me frustrated, and I'm not even sitting on the board. You know, but I think that we ought to know. Pittman Creek came to this community from Lincoln County because of internet. So either Lincoln County improved it or something's changed. We don't have
I
that
think
answer.
that what's changed is, and it's a great change, and that is their business has just grown substantially.
Pittman Creek's business.
Right. And they need room. They need capacity. And competing interests said, we'll give it to you. I think there's going to be about a 200-something thousand square foot facility. It's going to get built at a $10.5 million cost. And I think right now, didn't you tell me they've got about 155
They've had as many as 150 employees. It fluctuates, but
It's pretty amazing that the fishing lure business is what it is.
well, that's another thing is, you know, I don't, in this instance in particular, the general public probably doesn't even know what they do, but that's kind of a good thing because they have had they have very little impact on the environment, you know, but at the same time they've been a part of this community. I had no idea what they did until
Do you also feel like, the two of you, that some of the lost ventures that maybe companies looking at us that we weren't asked to play in? In other words, do you have something you can offer city or county government? Do you think that everything was negotiated and, oh, sorry, we lost that one without being asked if we could help?
the land is owned by a private entity who is a partner of the Economic Development Partnership, but they have made decisions about their land without communicating with the rest of the partnership.
I think you answered my question.
Would you like to say anything, Earl?
No, I'm thinking about how how you would coordinate the discussion, and I know that, you know, we're going to talk about some things Thursday with the downtown master plan. So it looks like the commission, although we want the downtown master plan to have its own implementation process, which has been our focus, and we don't want to lose that focus. We have to focus on things like that with intent. But it seems like that once you hear that, you can do research and you can approach your economic development collectively, considering all those different pieces. How you do industrial recruitment maybe, and then it sounds like how you do other type of retention and things like that. And so maybe that's becomes a broader discussion where the master plan becomes a piece of that, and you decide ultimately how you want to fund the implementation of that. So yeah, there's some information you can gather after, so you wouldn't want to schedule a workshop right this second. You want to go through the downtown master plan process. You want to engage your partners and have dialogue with them, the county, for example, and then figure out how you organize your, I guess, your process to coordinate what you want to do, right? And so you could follow up with that discussion after you finish the downtown master plan, after you've had a chance to talk to your partners, and then certainly we could engage that process and with you all if you want or not, and
Oftentimes, the focus of economic development is on industry. And I don't feel like commercial and retail development has had enough of a focus. And I think this downtown master plan is going to have a huge impact on our economic development and how we do it. And we are going to have to find creative ways to implement our master plan. And it's a ripple effect. You know, you start with downtown and it only ripples throughout the community. And so the second part of my recommendation is I will do whatever you all want to do, but if you all decide that we are going to continue with this partnership as it stands, then I will resign as your representative, and someone else needs to take that. So I can hang on for a couple of months for us to get some clarity,
That's a good idea.
but I do not feel comfortable continuing as your representative with this partnership as it stands.
If I may frame your conversation, when we have workshops or an agenda item, we need to have clear direction on what is to be achieved by the discussion, or else it's lacking in content and effectiveness. The question before you is essentially, as I understand it, well, let's base it on this assumption. Economic development is a primary function of municipal or county government, period. The policy question for this board, and for any partner for that matter, is what is the most effective service delivery method of your purpose, your primary purpose in economic development? That's the question. There are answers to that, potentially multiple answers. Internal department, external corporation, some hybrid model. There are different methods of delivery of the service. But ultimately, for this board, you have to determine what is the most cost-effective, efficient, effective manner to develop or to deliver that service to the citizens that you're elected to represent.
Well said, sir. So to my colleague, Commissioner Terry, let's hang in there a little longer until we can get this redirected.
Okay.
And I guess it's safe to say that as of tonight, this is really the first official discussion we've had about EDP's future and the city's future with the partnership. So this starts that process tonight. So I know there's been lots of other things that have happened, and you and I have had a conversation, the mayor and I have had a conversation, but really, as a commission, this is the first time we've had an official discussion of it, so.
I agree with you, Commissioner Atkins. You know, there's some key words here. Fact-finding, is this the direction we want to go? We certainly have frustration, so we want to do something about that. The other thing that was kind of made me curious is that Attorney Dexter mentioned that it's really a county function. Is that to say that maybe the county should be running and we should
I'm
be...
sorry, I don't think I said
You
that.
said municipal and county government.
Yes.
That's what you said.
Economic development is a primary function of municipalities
Okay.
and county government.
Okay,
So,
and county government, okay.
sure, no, it
Okay.
would, each governmental entity, specifically cities, are empowered as a primary function to deliver economic development for their communities.
Yeah, okay.
I would suggest placing the EDP discussion back on the agenda at the first meeting in October, and then trying to anticipate planning that workshop or planning. I think you need to have another discussion like this where we've had a chance to organize our thoughts around, like Stephen said, which is what do you want to accomplish at the workshop specifically? And that'll give us enough time to do some things like work on the master plan and see what other elements that you want to think about along the way.
Sure.
And when we have our workshop on the master plan, which is Thursday,
Yes, ma'am. Thursday morning.
I want to make sure we
10 a.m.
focus on that and not get off into
Right.
the economic development discussion. So I know it's hard to separate those two things, but we want to focus on this master plan Thursday, and then we can have another discussion about economic development as a whole.
Yeah, so Commissioner Terry, I appreciate you bringing that up. Certainly it's something that's riding hard on your shoulders and hard for you to cough out today, but it's okay to talk about these things. And I'm going to take my horse up to the front of the track real quick because you did say something. I don't think that currently we do focus enough on small business when the whole world is competing for the big businesses. We need to look at what Danville can offer the small businesses and collectively move forward in that direction. So I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you.
And I would envision that falling in line with the comprehensive approach to economic development. Yeah, we can't leave that out.
And I wasn't looking for a decision tonight. I'm just looking for some general direction based on where I think we are. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, ma'am.
I thank both of you for bringing the issue forward.
Well, as your representatives, that was what we're supposed to do.
No, you wouldn't, not at this time of my
That's
life.
what you pay us the big bucks for. Item 9 is the Parks and Rec service cost. Mr. Coffey, you want to address that, please?
Well, it's a question, and we'll be happy to do that. Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. We've included in the packet pages 4 and 5 out of the Parks and Rec agreement with the county. There's item 6 that discusses the service cost to be paid by the county to the city. Included in that is the operation of the Bunny Davis Pool. The county is essentially requesting that the cost of the pool not be included in their annual payment for this cycle. It nets a reduction from $322,000 down to $303,000. So you're giving the county an option to not pay you the $19,000, which is their piece noted by the agreement, at least, as their share of the operation of the pool. Now, the agreement didn't contemplate that arrangement, doesn't give us any administrative direction on how to do that. It did contemplate the operation of the pool ceasing, and then therefore they'll be entitled to. So there's no necessarily a basis for the $19,000 other than that would be the credit if the pool ceased operations indefinitely, right? But we are in unique times, and so staff is asking direction without the benefit of direction in the contract. Is that fair?
Yeah, if I may start. My first comment is it seems that the county's got a reasonable request, and it's right there in black and white. Although, did we try to maintain the pool? Did we spend money on chemicals and water hoping things would, okay.
We filled it up, and that's been the limit, really, of what we've done. We had some minor control expenses, but we would have had that. Those are long-term repairs, theoretically 3 to 5 year repairs when we make those. And so those would have been made regardless when the pool would have been open.
You know, personally, fellow commissioners, I think it's kind of a reasonable request on their
A deal's a
part.
deal.
Yeah.
Is that your motion?
Do we have to do that? I think it's just discussion, right?
Well,
We need direction, and
They
we
need direction.
need permission to do that. We do not have administrative authority to accept a reduction of the payment.
And another reason it's before you is this request is not in line with the manner in which this section was negotiated.
Precisely.
The contract was negotiated to say that a lump sum payment for all delivery of Parks and Rec services is X at $322,000. Which, you know, you should note that your annual appropriation for Parks and Recreation in this year's budget exceeds $1 million. So you should be aware of that figure as well. The agreement was negotiated in that paragraph simply because the county had a fear of the closure of the Bunny Davis Center and the non-delivery of those services. So what was not contemplated was an a la carte ordering of services, of what they would participate in or what they would not participate in. From a technical standpoint, the city has not ceased operations of the Bunny Davis Pool. It was closed due to COVID-19 or not able to open due to COVID-19. But the city was prepared to open it, but for the pandemic. That being said, if you wish to make a concession, no one on staff is going to lose any sleep over it. However, I feel obligated to tell you that this type of request is not contemplated under the agreement. It was not and is not. So we're talking about $19,000 of a $322,000 appropriation of a budget exceeding $1 million. So those numbers are important for the public to know and for you to know in making your decision. But that's all I have to say about it for you.
You want
for
to
your
assure that
consideration.
this doesn't open the door for,
Pardon me?
you want to assure that this does not open the door to say, hey, we don't see as many people using Millennium Park or blah, 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 and that kind of.
Yeah, that's what I was
silliness.
afraid of. I don't want to open the door to a la carte in the future.
Precisely. And that the large negotiation point on this matter was if the Bunny Davis Center closed and the pool closed and there was no replacement for it, and they felt if they are citizens living outside of the city who wanted access to a pool, couldn't have it, then they felt like they would do a reduction, and so that's why that point was negotiated. Fact of the matter is, this year, no resident, whether in the city or the county, had access to the pool, but you as a city aren't entitled to a reduction of your expenditures for parks and recreations, which do exceed $1 million.
And certainly, you don't want to create a situation where your partner feels like they need to come in every year and verify every dollar you spend necessarily either, and say you didn't provide X service, or you didn't do Y. That's an unhealthy arrangement as well. And so but at the same time, we do concede that it is a pandemic. So we felt like that it was necessary for you as a board to weigh in and give us direction.
But we got a request from the county to not pay the $19,000.
That is correct.
Okay, not from staff, but from the county.
Right.
I don't want to get into a
It looked like Michelle.
match with them again.
Yeah, whichever way you all vote, of course, as Stephen directed, nobody's going to lose sleep over it. I just wanted to throw out the numbers of the facts of the budget for you, because I know you don't have it in front of you right now, and I do. We budgeted for the pool this fiscal year, 2021, knowing that it would not be opened in 2020, that this was just to open it in 2021 and do repairs now, of $44,609.25. And that is taking in consideration it wouldn't open this year. By the time we finished the budget, we knew it wasn't going to be, it wasn't going to be open this year. And that's to open it next year and that. So I just want to throw that fact out there to you all so that you all have the numbers. And like Stephen said, nobody's going to lose sleep over whichever way you go, but.
But that is a good point. The appropriation is for the current fiscal year.
Correct.
Which began July 1, 2020, and will not conclude until June 30th, 2021. So, which will include a pool
Next summer.
season,
Yeah.
potentially,
We hope.
So we're
yeah.
absent
actually,
another or the continuance of the current pandemic.
so this $19,000 is actually for next summer.
Well, it's-
They're asking for a credit because the pool wasn't opened in the previous fiscal year.
that's a good point.
But but this agreement was effective July 1.
Correct.
So
And so
They're asking for a full credit on about half a season. Full time.
I think that's fair. You know, half the credit for half the season, I think that's fair.
You mean to go back and say that instead of 19,000?
And while you're doing that, I think we have to reassess some of the language in here, because I don't think this pool's going to be open next summer. And that's through no fault of anybody.
I don't know whether it would be open or not. Are you thinking because of COVID-19 issues?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, my only response to that would be it seems premature at this point to make argument whether things will be open or closed in nearly 10 months. I don't know. It may be, but it seems like it would be more appropriate to address it at that time as opposed to the first quarter of a new fiscal year.
Right, so it's easy to acknowledge that they did not open this half of the summer. So maybe you do it, they make quarterly payments, so you can consider half the payment in this cycle, and then at a future payment in the April payment of next year, consider those, the other half of the payment then.
Mr. Mayor, are you ready for a motion?
I am, sir.
I'll move that we accept the county's request for a reduction of $19,000, and that we do that as soon as we can, with the note that this is really not how the agreement is set up, but it's unusual times, and I don't want to get into another debate, contest, whatever you want to call it. I can think of some things I could call it, but I'm not going to say it out loud because that lady here from the press. But I just moved that we give them the $19,000 and move on.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Atkins and a second by Commissioner Terry. We are officially in discussion if there is any further.
So the motion is to allow the $19,000 non-payment,
Reduction
with no condition that it might be open again next year.
I think the words "one time" are very important here.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion?
She got to ask for an amendment to that motion, doesn't she? Because I didn't say, I just said due to COVID myself, but she's saying one time, so we need to probably
Well.
amend that motion, don't we?
Do you want to change yours to one time?
No, I don't.
One-time reduction?
Nope.
I'd like to amend it because I think, I'd like to ask you to amend it, half the cost. If we do open,
Oh,
they
he
should be
wants that.
obligated.
All right, okay.
Well,
So there's an amendment, then there's, well, we have a motion on the floor
We have
to
a
give a
motion on the floor.
$19,000 reduction. That's been seconded. We have a motion for an amendment that it be half of that amount. Is there a second to that amendment is where we are procedurally?
I thought
Okay.
your amendment.
Dies.
So that motion dies for lack of a second, which
Right.
makes the primary motion back on the floor, Mayor.
Commissioner Terry, do you have an amendment to offer?
well, I was saying one time, but if it is because of COVID, then is that good enough? You think?
Staff is going to either administratively approve a $19,000 reduction or not. How you want to relay that message to your counterparts is solely up to you.
I guess
But
if-
this will just be a bookkeeping entry
I guess if
on
they
behalf of the
ask,
city of Danville.
I guess if they ask again in the future, we can vote again in the future, can't we?
Yes, ma'am.
That's appropriate.
Call for the question.
It's, yeah.
Question is called. We have the original motion from Commissioner Atkins, seconded by Commissioner Terry. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Nay.
Motion carries. City manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. We'll go through pretty quick some points. What we think are interesting is the downtown master plan project. The workshop is scheduled for Thursday, 9/17, 10 a.m. Would like to point out that we are addressing the Parks and Recreation Director vacancy. We are assessing the job description to make sure that, if you'll recall, the hire was made when it was a board organized job description. What we are doing is revisiting the job description to make sure it's aligned specifically with the city's master plan. We hope to have that process done in the next few days so that can be re-advertised. There's been some questions about the aerator and the fountain, that is located in the pond at Millennium Park. Those are both under repair. We are thinking the aerator will be reinstalled next week, and the fountain will be restored the week after that. The tennis court lights are 2 weeks away from being repaired. There's some repair to the tennis court surface that we hope to happen next week, the crack repair. We would also point out that the connector trail from Hughes Lane to Corporate Drive is under construction. We've had significant progress in that. We are waiting for drier ground so that we can have the trail paved and surfaced. The leaf schedule from Public Works will be out in the next couple of weeks. They're going to start working on that towards the end of this week. That'll be published. We are working on broadband. We have a meeting with someone tomorrow to help continue to guide, develop the strategy for organizing what that would look like. So we're not quite there yet. We had hoped to be there tonight, but like I said, we have a meeting tomorrow to talk about it. Fire station, we're looking at a bid date right now. We have not published it officially, but we're looking towards the end of October, around the 20th, and that's not official yet, of trying to target that to receive bids for the fire station next door. We have ongoing utility work, and then we are looking at organizing the water tower bid date for the western part of the county. We would hope to have that by the next commission meeting. And also the water line construction, we'll have a discussion on that, that connects what is Cowell to Tuggle Road. We hope to have that discussion in the next meeting as well. That's what we have. Any questions for us, we'll be happy to address those. Otherwise, we won't make Preston wait too much longer.
Any questions?
No, he's got, he's going to present something to us, just make us aware during here to the public.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Back when this all got started in the midst of you becoming the interim, we talked about roundtable discussions among the staff and stuff. Give us an update on about how the roundtable discussions with staff, those discussions and meetings have been going.
We've been doing our regular management team meetings. We've not conducted anything separate by themselves yet. And we amongst staff, other than the regular management team meetings,
And that's the
which is
roundtable
Tuesday
approach?
afternoons, and we do have open discussion.
Okay.
That's once a week.
Anything else?
Preston, I apologize, I have one more question. We talked about and approved you going forward with some of the, I don't know what we want to call it, the pop-out dining on Main Street. You say anything about that, or did I miss it?
I was wanting to, that's one of the things I had for Rick. He had been doing a lot of research. He's back here. Maybe he wants to talk about his schedule. I know that he and I have not gotten to talk about it this week yet, and he was doing some research on what to install and how to do it, and he was then trying to find a little bit cheaper way to do it, so we won't put him on the spot, but we hope to start construction this month for sure. Right.
All right, thank you, sir. We are in a section called Hear the Public. If there are any comments from the public, we are glad to hear it at this time.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to come before you tonight. Appreciate the invitation from Mr. Coffey. I want to make you aware of an event that is occurring this coming Sunday, September the 20th. It is a National Cleanup Day. It is a collaboration between City of Danville Public Works, the Bluegrass Green Source, the Heart of Danville Main Street, and Clark's Run Environmental Education Corporation. We hope to be on Michael Smith Park from 1 to 4 in the afternoon on Sunday, doing some public education and improvements. Mr. Henry has been very helpful to us in arranging the details of the trash cleanup. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Miles, how many people do you expect at this point? You got any idea of?
Quite frankly, we don't want 350 people. We're hoping for 45 or 50 people. We've given thought to appropriate social distancing and contagion control measures.
How?
This is a disappointing replacement to our 50th celebration of Earth Day. We were originally scheduled in April. Yeah. We delayed till September, and then several weeks ago it became appropriate that a large event was still not appropriate. So this is an opportunity to engage the community in our local waterway.
How big a stretch of Clark's Run are you? How big of a stretch of Clark's Run are you addressing?
The downtown section, roughly from above the parts store to down to Kurtzinger's.
That's pretty good, it's pretty long.
2 miles.
Good walk. Yeah. Professor, if you share some information with me, I'll give it to Tim Kites, the Housing Authority Director,
I'd be happy to.
let him share it with debate with folks.
So for those of folks who want to attend, they should show up at 1 o'clock.
Anytime between 1 and 4, we're going to have activities for children. We've got prizes
Where-
for the families. We've got some tree planting activities, and we're going to do a trash and litter pickup
But the center of activity is the Michael Smith Park.
at Michael Smith Park, right.
And how should people come equipped?
Dressed casually.
But as far as
Masks, gloves.
We have a few extra masks, but if people have them on their own, we'd appreciate
should
that.
they wear muck boots? Should they, or just, is that necessary?
If you want to work through the creek, muck boots or wettable shoes are fine.
Right, okay.
We've had times where we have supplied work gloves. We will probably not be doing that. We'll hope that you'll bring your own, just as a matter of cleanliness.
It's a safety issue, right.
Any tools that they may need? Any
Yes, we
gloves
have.
or tools? Just bring your own.
Yeah.
Okay.
We publicize through the school and the library and those sorts of things.
Good
Thank
deal.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to publicly thank you, Dr. Miles, for organizing Earth Day celebration for many, many years.
This time it didn't work, we'll be back.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Safe travels. Anything else from the public?
No.
Okay, then we'll move into commissioner comments. Mr. Atkins?
I think there's something just burning on my soul to tell you all.
Well, you want to circle back? Yeah, circle back. Go ahead, Denise.
Can't think of anything.
Rick?
You know, it's unfortunate because we're all such an active community because of COVID. We can't report on festivals or races or whatever, but I will comment that I am proud of the organizations that did this last time that try to keep things moving. The Pop-Up Cafe has now gone 2 weeks in a row with live music, and I'm getting there a little bit late in the evening, so I don't know what the size of the crowd is, but it's a gallant effort to kind of keep us still kind of lively downtown with things going on. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the focus that our interim city manager and our public works folks are doing with Parks and Rec, because right now, with COVID, we need to have those things going. One of the things at Parks and Rec, or any activity, even if it's indoors for karate, is keeping youth busy so they're not thinking about other things to get in trouble about. So with a lot of doors closed or limited access, we got to try to keep our parks rolling. So I appreciate that.
Earl, question was posed to me about the gazebo. Where is the gazebo? Where is the gazebo going to go? When?
The when part, I think, is the question at hand. That's most pressing. We had a general area spotted at Millennium Park, and that would be one of the work lists that we have that we need to, as we get through COVID. We've started and stopped looking at that multiple times. This has been one of the things that's been held up, and so it's certainly something that we need to provide intensity on its focus.
If you would do that, then I'd appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
And at one point recently, there was discussion of putting a large trash dumpster there in the 3rd Street lot. Where are we on that?
We got a proposal back from Republic. They suggested a 2-yard dumpster, and so we will follow up with them this week and trying to get that deployed.
That'd be good.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is anything
Bridget
like
and I
that?
did not get to talk about that today. She did receive something from them Friday, I want to say, and so that's something she and I will follow up on this week.
I actually meant to ask that during the codes report about the trash can placement problems. I think some of those are around apartments.
Some of those
Can-
around apartments, there was 26 locations downtown that I noticed in the report. Other alternative locations with larger dumpsters. I don't necessarily, wouldn't recommend the larger dumpsters at all, the locations that they pointed out, quite frankly. But the downtown ones particularly lend themselves for the smaller dumpsters and seem to be very convenient. So we know we want to deploy the one because that is in concert with our owner's request, but that we will evaluate their proposal and see what the best really solution is for both the aesthetics and operations. Those are two different things.
And in residential areas as well as commercial.
That is correct.
Okay.
Right. Your Ben Ally area is an example.
Mhm.
Yes.
4th and Walnut Street, too.
I'm sorry?
4th and Walnut Streets.
Yes, there was lots of alternatives downtown. Surprising, I thought you would end up with like maybe less than 12, but they literally had 26 locations scattered about 6 or 8 blocks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else under comments? Seeing none, we'll move into item 11, the bill list. Chair will entertain a motion at your earliest opportunity.
I'll offer a motion to approve the September 14th, 2020 bill list. Wow. $1,224,770.68. I didn't get that 68 cent, but okay. As submitted. Wow.
Second. Oh,
Motion made by Commissioner Atkins, second by Commissioner Terry, third by Commissioner Sears. Discussion. 10% of this amount is to KU. Another, maybe 8% is to Republic, and so you've got some fixed utility costs there. Michelle, that last number for debts and disbursements, obviously that's for
That's the.
bonds interest rates.
Yeah, that's the transfers that we make, so that we make the monthly transfers every month, so that whenever your bond is due, it covers retainages that we were supposed to keep by ordinance and by agreement, and also it's a transfer to the capital improvement fund so that we can pay for our capital projects that we budgeted this year, so that we make sure it doesn't sneak up on us.
And then Earl, there's this amount of about $8,600 to Streetscape project number for QK4. Who is that?
That is the consultant. I think that was the invoice from memory, without looking it up. I think that was one of the invoices tied to your 4th Street intersection, where they were actively working on that lighting package that the state's required. That there's some conflicting utilities there, and that's the report that the state wants to change those is quite substantial. I believe that's then invoice tied to that, some of that work.
Then there's an expenditure of about $5,000 to Hannah Group. When are we done with them, and when are we going to have a finished product?
We will cover that with Mr. Boyd and see what that schedule is. There's an annual maintenance fee tied to it, and we will, I know he is actively working on, we discussed 60 days on some of your administrative tasks. For example, the longevity pay for fire. There's some follow-up tied to that for longevity pay discussion for non-hazardous. And then the compensation study should be revised shortly thereafter. And so we would anticipate a compensation report coming to you guys in the calendar year after you do the structural repair to the, some of the policies that Randy has highlighted that needed addressed first. Specifically on that fee, I don't know if that's the service work or the annual contract from memory. And we can follow up with that and get that information to you.
That payment is for doing the compensation study.
Yeah.
That's a partial payment on the compensation study.
Okay.
I also noticed 2 different mowing companies on here for different charges.
2 different what?
2 different charges of mowing. There's Cutting Edge, but then there's also Growing Dreams. Do we use 2
Codes.
different? Oh, okay. That's for code enforcement. Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm good.
So motion's made and seconded. Any further discussions, questions? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 12 is the second reading of ordinance number 1954 for the property tax rate. Madam Clerk, if you don't mind, do the reading on that, please.
This is the second reading of ordinance number 1954, an ordinance establishing ad valorem tax rates for fiscal year 2020 through 2021 and penalties for non-payment.
This is a second reading. Do I hear a motion for the second reading?
I'll offer a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 1954.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Thank you, sir. We are in discussion, if there is any.
It's appropriate to make a statement that this is a reduction.
Correct?
You know, that's good PR to be put in the,
There's no other comments. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Atkins,
yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Terry,
Yes.
Mayor Paris,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Saris.
Yes.
Item 13 is resolution number 2020-09-14-02. This is the approval for the salt bid. Mr. Henry?
Yes, they held their reverse auction, and Cargill Incorporated come up with the lowest price for us. The bid would be for this fiscal year's salt and next year's, but we also have the option to rebid for next year. We suggest that you accept the Cargill bid at $66.30 per ton, which at 800 ton would bring you, as you see, $53,040 for the year, depending on what type of winter we have to what we will use. But they will stockpile 800 ton for us.
Excellent.
To have at our need.
Do I hear a motion?
Move to accept resolution number 2020-09-1402.
Thank you, Commissioner Sears. Is there a second?
Second?
Mr. Atkins, thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, Chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 14, again, Mr. Henry, this is resolution number 2020-09-0-14-03. This is paving for the Bunny Davis parking lot.
Yes, part of the budget for the fiscal year 21 process, we found the need of the parking lot in repair badly at the Bunny Davis Center. And with the budget crunch that we've had, we've come up with a partial pavement that we feel like would work well for you. The Allen Company would be doing it at $17,847.30. Basically, it paves the front of the building from their entrance, from one entrance to the other, and up to the dumpster up on the side. So, we ask for approval to do that.
It
Do
is
I
an
hear a
area
motion?
that has been repaired
Yes, we've repaired it.
substantially.
We've had some drainage pipes that failed in there and collapsed, and we patched in the blacktop best possible, but it is continually failing where the water was up underneath of it and just broke the pavement up.
I'll move for approval of resolution 2020-09-1403.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Sears. Discussion?
Now, well, yes, I guess I appreciate you bringing up why we're doing this. You know, certainly it's been an interesting year. We've already had the pool discussion because of COVID, but Bunny Davis is being utilized. I didn't realize the parking lot was in bad shape, so it's almost like a street. since it's our property that we need to take a look at. And I don't know where we sit, actually, you know, in terms of how long we're going to stay with Bunny Davis before we decide to move to a new building over at Millennium. But so this has been a little bit of a bold move, I guess, since we haven't set a date line on it. We have to maintain what we have, right?
Any further discussions or comments? Seeing none, chair call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. And thank you, sir. Item 15 is municipal order number 09-14-01-2020. Chief Gray to discuss the police officer employment contracts.
Mayor, we've got the contracts that, one of them is the conditional contract for employment for a new hire. Mr. Cole has gone in and fixed some loopholes in that contract. And then we also have one that's a conditional contract of employment if we were to buy out an officer that's in a contract with another agency, which we have not had before. And myself, the city attorney, city engineer, interim city manager, and HR, they'll make these contracts. They'll be presented to the employee when we do the offer letters of employment.
Okay, do I hear a motion for the resolution?
I'll move municipal order 09-1401-2020.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Terry. We are in discussion.
I would say I'm impressed. I'm sorry.
No, please.
Yeah, I'm impressed that Tony and our HR director took a look at this. Never thought about any loopholes, but certainly it sounds like that's been some of our issues in the past in terms of just things going on in your department, and hopefully this will fix those.
Yeah, I think that this will address some of the issues that we've had in the past. And like I said, HR, city attorney, and Mr. Cole have all looked at these, and I think it'll address those issues.
Yeah.
None of this is retroactive. This is all going forward, correct?
Correct. This would be going forward.
Anything else? Seeing none, chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That concludes our normal business for tonight, unless we have need for an executive session.
We've asked the new reporter to introduce herself. Welcome her.
Do we have, personnel and property acquisition? Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I can't read my cheat sheet over here.
Somebody read it.
Do you have a cheat sheet over there, Rick?
Yeah. Did you say personnel and property acquisition?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, our divider is right over there.
Okay. So I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters pursuant to, we got this plexiglass, KRS 61.8101F, and for property acquisition, motion to go into executive session regarding potential real property of which publicly at present stage might or would be likely to affect the this is fun, isn't it? Okay. Okay. Value. Pursuant to KRS 61.8101B. Thank you.
Second. Sorry, our dividers are right over
We're glad
our
you was
cheat
out of-
sheets here.
Who engineered this? We have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. But before we depart,
Yeah.
we have a new person with us tonight. And I believe you're with the Advocate Messenger. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, so my name is Olivia Moore. I'm new at the Advocate Messenger. I replaced Zach Oakes, who was the old reporter. So he'll be
And it's MOHR?
Yes.
Gotcha.
MOHR.
Welcome, madam. Glad to have you here. So, we will be
We're in
into
executive
executive session.
Regular session.
Second.
Motion and a second to move back into regular session. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. We are into regular session. Mr. City Manager?
We have in front of you 4 recommendations for hire, beginning with Orville Napier as the cemetery supervisor. He has several years of experience in general labor and equipment experience, as well as being a lead team manager.
So moved.
Motion is made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Continue, please.
We are offering you John Wright to the position of police officer. He has over 20 years of experience in policing at the city level in London, and staff recommends moving forward with his hire.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Continue.
We are offering Scott Lawson to the position of full-time firefighter. He has over 18 years of experience in the industry, and as well as some time here in Danville.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Continue on.
We are offering Chris Souter to the position of full-time firefighter. He has over 3 years of experience, all of which is inside of Boyle County, part-time with our staff as well.
Mr. Atkins, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion is made. Mr. Atkins, do I hear a second?
Second. I'm waiting on that pizza, Michelle. I was just
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Continue.
We would ask that you accept the resignation of Jacob Farley from the police department effective 9/20/2020, and Savannah Caldwell effective 9/11/2020.
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
To adjourn. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, like
She
sign.
made it and seconded.
Motion carries.
He was making it at the same time.